Good morning and welcome to the House of Representatives. For those of you who may not know who I am, I'm Representative Mike Sanders, and we're here today to honor an American and Oklahoma patriot, Chief Jon Hansen. I'd like to thank the Hansen family, especially Jill and Corey. Your dad was always proud of you both, his sisters, family, and very close friends. Thank you all for being here. To our United States Fire Administrator, Chief Bryant, thank you for being here. To the entire Oklahoma Fire Service, the OSFA, thank you. To our rural fire coordinators, Fire Marshal Doak, my good friend, former Representative Joe Dorman, who's sitting right back there, thank you, Joe. And to Chief Hansen's Koff family, thank you so much. And to the many friends that have made today possible. Today, we will officially unveil and dedicate the bridge over Broadway Extension, I-235 and 23rd Street as the Chief Jon Hansen Memorial Bridge. Admiral McLean flew the vaunted A-6 Intruder before becoming the slot pilot and operations officer for the U.S. Navy Flight Demonstration Squadron, the Blue Angels. Admiral McLean has commanded 2 strike force squadrons and the Navy's only forward deployed air wing, the CAG-5, home ported in Yokosuka, Japan. I don't know if I pronounced that right, but we're going to go with it. He commanded all the aircraft carriers and surface commandments in the Western Pacific and Battle Force 7th Fleet. His flagship was the USS Kitty Hawk. Admiral McLean was at the Pentagon on 9/11, where he assisted in the rescue of numerous victims and was instrumental in directing the National Command Authority for actions surrounding 9/11. As Director of Operations, Plans, and Programs, the commander for the U.S. Pacific Fleet, he led the efforts to save over 275 Indonesians following the tsunami in Sumatra in 2004. Admiral McLean has over 1,500 carrier-arrested landings, including 500 at night on 11 different carriers and over 6,500 flight hours. The Admiral has been awarded 2 Defense Superior Medals, 4 Legion of Merit, the Meritorious Service Medal, and numerous air medals. Very, very impressive. Today, he owns the Rockin' HD Ranch on the South Canadian River, where he raises Japanese Wagyu cattle, servicing many local restaurants with ultra-prime Wagyu beef. I'm going to have to check that out. His wife, Donnie, is a former All-Big 8 basketball player at Colorado, and they have 3 wonderful children. Today, I've asked Admiral McLean to talk about why it is important to honor and dedicate. So, without further ado, please welcome our friend, Rear Admiral Mr. McLean.
Thank you, Leader Sanders. I appreciate that. What a great day. I mean, compared to what it was yesterday, I took a trailer and a truck up to Miami and fought the wind and all the elements that you all had here yesterday. And getting back last night, I purposely came down the Broadway Extension. It was not on my way. But I wanted to kind of take the Capitol in as the sun went down. We're so blessed to have you all here to honor our friend and loved one, Jon Hansen. I first met Jon in 1988. He was the Blue Angel liaison for Aerospace America, the air show that we had out at Will Rogers World Airport. That was probably the hardest air show site that the Blue Angels have ever done. And you go, well, why? It's a big airport, we got lots of sky, and we've got lots of airliners. But Jon took it upon himself to do the coordination along with his father, Leroy, to pull a rabbit out of a hat that, quite honestly, we didn't think could be done. Since that time, I have been Jon Hansen's blood brother. Most of you that have Indian heritage understand what that means. Leader Sanders asked me a couple weeks ago to say a few words as to why we honor our Oklahoma patriots and heroes. I could give you the facts about how this occurred in time, all the way back to the Roman Empire, how they named structures, after their great leaders, and how it's transposed to Europe, and we adopted it from Europe. I could tell you all that stuff. I'm not, because I ain't one of them. I'm an Okie, and this is what we do. There's a word that maybe only Jill knows the meaning of this word, eponym. I don't see any heads shaking yes or no. An eponym is what Jon Hansen is going to become today. E-P-O-N-Y-M. I'm not going to ask you to Google it and do all that stuff, but that's the word in English for dedicating an intrinsic object to a human, to a person. And I promise you, John never wanted to be an eponym. There are many structures in Oklahoma that are named after our great Oklahoma people. I drive a lot of roads in Oklahoma, and there's not a single sign that brings me joy when I see Trooper X or Officer X or Firefighter Y's name on a road or on a bridge. But it's humbling. And what it really does is it forces us to remember. And that's what we do here in Oklahoma. We remember. And so it's fitting that we gather here today to honor one of our own, a man whose character, honor, courage, and commitment to save lives transcends what most of us who are protected every day take for granted. We seldom think about it until the time comes that those heroes are needed and their valor comes forward. An Oklahoman steps up every day and acts, puts that valor to work every day in Oklahoma. Chief Hansen is one of those. As you know, in the moments shortly following 9:02 a.m. on the 19th of April, 1995, Chief Hansen was in his office, Station 1, as the ceiling tiles lifted in the entire station. The doors blew open. Chief Hansen knew that we just had something really big happen. Ran outside, looked down Northwest 5th to the east, and the rubble hadn't yet even begun to come down. Chief worked tirelessly for months as the rescue and recovery of the Alfred Murrah Federal Building was cared for personally, as if his own family was under that rubble. He seldom left. He guarded it, and he was there for every piece of concrete that got moved. And those of you that are in this room know exactly what I speak of. I was there. I watched grace, humility, sadness, and most of all, perseverance of Oklahoma. John held up Oklahoma in the darkest days of our history. We've had bad stuff happen, a lot of it. I'll go right back to the Dust Bowl, and even before that. But that one single event challenged every soul in Oklahoma. Are we going to let it get us, or are we going to rise above? And we rose out of those ashes. We rose stronger, larger, and bigger than anyone in this country ever thought we could. And one of the really sad things that happened, and it's sad in a good way, it showed the United States of America what we could do again when tragedy occurs. Because a few short years later, obviously 9/11 happened. I was one of the first to call Jon, and I knew that it was just going to be one of those days. I was in California on the 19th of April. But I got a hold of him, and the first thing he asked was, "When can you get here?" On 9/11, the very first person I talked to outside the Pentagon was Jon Hansen. And he says, "I'm coming." And I said, "Jon, I don't need you in Washington. You need to go to New York City." And he did. John 15:13. Some of you know this passage well. "Greater love has no man than this, that a man lay down his life for his friends." Jon Hansen lived these words. We turn tragedy into triumph. It's who we are as Oklahomans. What Oklahoma did in the post-19 April days, we showed the world who we are. We have got the most wonderful memorial and museum downtown. Every year, she is listed as one of the top 10 historic sites in the United States. And think about that. One of the most tragic events in history is now a place that we want people to come because we remember. I don't tell this story very often, and I'll close, but the survivor tree, she's awesome. What y'all don't know, when I was a kid, I worked for a paving company. Paved parking lots, put bumper blocks in, and striped the parking lot. One of the lots that we had under our responsibility was the lot that has that tree. That was the scrawniest tree that the owner wanted cut down, wanted that tree gone. We convinced him that the tree's not bothering anything, and if we just don't pave over top of the roots, she'll probably be okay. And one day we'll trim it, and that'll be a good tree. And convince this individual not to cut that tree down. That's the real story of the survivor tree. And when I got to Oklahoma City on the 20th of April, the tree was there. I hadn't seen that tree in 30 years, 25 years, and she was beat to heck. Not a leaf on that tree. I see a lot of heads shaking that know exactly what I'm talking about. And it became so obvious to everyone that that tree is us. That's who we are. There's nothing that can divide the people of the state of Oklahoma. We're tight. we're strong, we'll do whatever it takes, and we'll love you at the same time. By the state of Oklahoma recognizing and naming this bridge in honor of Jon Hansen, we set in granite that we will never forget one of our own who paid the ultimate sacrifice. God bless each one of you. God bless Oklahoma, and Merry Christmas to you all. Thank you.
Now, I think it's fitting now if Jill and Corey and Chief Hansen's sisters would join me. We're going to unveil our sign here, and as we speak, the sign has been uncovered. So when you leave today and go home or on your way to lunch, make sure you cross over the Chief Jon Hansen Memorial Bridge. So Jill, Corey, and sisters, why don't you guys come up?